We're in this strange spot where we're probably this one generation who comes out of their youth and not everything is constantly improving anymore.
Today I have the pleasure to welcome in the studio Julie Federspiel. Welcome.
Thank you very much for having me.
So Julie is a young Luxembourger, and I talk a lot about the new generation, foreign workers here, local people here. There are a lot of cliches, so I decided to invite you, Julie, so we can exchange about your studies, your choices, the pros and cons of being a native Luxembourger. So maybe can you just share with us your curriculum in a few words?
Yeah, for sure. So like I said, my name is Julie. I am 24 years old at this point in time. I finished my high school in Germany a few years ago. Then I went on to studying English literature with the Open University. And in the end, I ended up doing a master's degree with Harvard University very recently.
Mm-hmm. And during those studies, did you do some work experiences in companies?
Yes, so I had two different internships. One was between the bachelor's and the master's degree. Mm-hmm. That was a 2-month internship with a marketing department of a Luxembourgish company. Mm-hmm. And then later on, after my master's degree, now that I'm finishing up, I decided to pursue a 6-month internship with the Ministry of Foreign Affairs here.
Okay, so now you're getting to the point, 24 years old, you did your work experience in a public company, in a government. So what are your options? How do you look at things today? What are you looking for?
Right now I'm at this point in time where I say, oh God, I have so many options. What do I choose? Mm-hmm. The degree I have, international relations, is in some terms very versatile. It has communication aspects, it has political aspects. And so I theoretically should be able to pick and choose anything I want. And now what I'm seeing is I really have to get to know myself in order to figure out which direction I want to go in the end. Mm-hmm. It's less, well, what are the options that are open to me, and more, what career could I possibly see myself sitting in for the next 10, 15, 20, even more years without having the feeling of getting stuck.
Okay, so let me advocate for the devil. You just work in a Ministry of Foreign Affairs, which seems a perfect match with your studies. If I were you, my plan would be, I get a job there,
right.
I go to the Spoorcase, get a 30-year long loan, so I can buy a house, have fantastic holidays, and live happily ever after.
Right, that would be the reasonable thing to do.
It is.
Right? So what I experienced there was, it was such a great experience. You know, you work with people from abroad who come in regularly. You prepare documents for your superiors, and in the end, because it's still a ministry and because it follows a protocol, that's the same in every country, especially in foreign affairs. In the beginning, you sit at the bottom of the food chain.
Of course,
right?
Of course.
I kind of noticed for myself that while the subject was something that I was very interested in, I'd studied international relations, that was technically a perfect fit, I wanted to see whether the environment could be adjusted. So I wanted to see maybe I could potentially thrive more in an environment that is faster paced and that challenges me to a higher degree.
Okay, and you're not shutting the door. You could very well in 3-4 years send your resume to a ministry, but right now you're looking for more experiences.
Exactly.
So have you done some interviews? Are you going in public companies, private companies, in Luxembourg or abroad?
So for the moment, I'm still looking to stay in Luxembourg. Mm-hmm. I think it's a great place to get work experience. Obviously, I'm from here, so I don't need to pay rent here, which is a huge benefit.
Of course.
But it's also just the kind of place where people from all around the world come together. Mm-hmm. So me moving to a different place right now would probably bring with itself that I move to a place that is less diverse than I am right now. At the moment, I'm interviewing with private companies because I want to have a comparison to what I've seen before with the publicly owned or just the state it's rumored to be a different kind of work environment with different pacing, and so that's just what I'm trying to put my finger on. Would this maybe be a better fit for me, or do I go back to the public service and say, you know what, this was the best I could do?
Okay. In terms of staying here or not, with your friends when you talk, do you find it important to help the growth and the sustainability of your country by working here, or is it just, you know, like a shop, I'm just going to consider all possible options and pick my favorite one?
I think that depends on, that's probably more of an identity question. Some young people identify very strongly with their nationality or their environment and say, this is something that I want to stay here and I want to contribute to this atmosphere, this environment that we have here. That's important to some, and others say, you know, there's so many difficulties in this world nowadays. It's important that I first focus on finding my own opportunities before I consider contributing to a specific country, a nation. It depends. Many of my friends are somewhat politically engaged, so they, of course, are very much bound to Luxembourg and say, you know, this is the place where I want to be, this is the place that I love, the place that I want to see thrive, and I want to contribute to that. Myself, I'm sort of sitting in between the chairs at the moment, because while I love my home country, I've always been the kind of person who says, well, what is out there? What can I still explore?
Of course. And there's a factor we didn't talk about, which is, you know, one of the biggest driver to bring people here is love.
Yeah.
Most of the time people have a girlfriend, boyfriend, or a wife, husband. One of them finds a job here, or they fall in love with a Luxembourger on holiday, and then they come here supposedly for a few months, and then they stay 20 years. Is this also a factor the other way around? Did you see a lot of friends studying in France, Belgium, England, America, falling in love there and staying there?
I myself am in a situation that is similar to this right now. I am in a relationship and my partner is not Luxembourgish, he lives abroad. And so at the moment we're still doing long distance, and our end goal is to figure out where are we gonna stay, what country provides the better opportunities for us as a collective partnership. Of course, everyone needs to first figure out individual goals. Okay, what do I deem more important? Because this relationship is still quite fresh. You don't make life-changing decisions that fast, ideally. So you figure out, okay, well, what do I prioritize career-wise? How can I combine that with relationship goals? And if that doesn't work, I think a lot of people are in similar situations. They say, well, it's either one partner makes a big sacrifice, or you see that you find a solution that everyone is equally happy with. The optimal solution is the latter, obviously.
Of course. Because
the first option usually brings with itself that the relationship becomes imbalanced in terms of power.
Of course. And in terms of, you know, when you talk with all your friends, I'm sure at your age there's a lot of peer pressure, because this friend found this fantastic job here, this other one found this amazing job there. When you talk together, you know, on Fridays and Saturday nights, do you see like a big focus from all your generation, something you are frustrated about or very happy about, or something you complain about? If you could change things together, what would it be?
I think what my generation would probably like to see is we're in this strange spot where we're probably this one generation who comes out of their youth and not everything is constantly improving anymore. The generations before me were used to constant growth, things are getting better in the world, democracy is popping up everywhere, and right now we're in the situation where we see the world is getting more restricted.
It's shrinking.
Again. It's shrinking, it's happened with the pandemic,
dividing.
It's politically, and it kind of makes you feel a bit inhibited in what you can choose. It might not be true, but it certainly feels that way. And I think that my generation would probably love to have a bit more recognition from the generations before us to have them understand that we feel this way. because a lot of people that I see, maybe some of the elderly that don't quite understand our disposition, say, well, why don't you buy an apartment? Why don't you buy a house? And the reason is because we just can't afford to right now.
Or we don't trust the future enough.
Yes, so some people are just feeling that the future is that unstable. And there's some of the young people work around this in different ways. Some people say, well, this is my moment to contribute to the peace and stability where I live. That is where they make the decision to go either into public service or be engaged politically in general. Or they say, you know, I want to stay as flexible as I can, so I have options here and abroad just in case something happens.
I manage my risks.
Right. It's very much risk management for the others, and there are always differences, like individually, but I would say that's the two sort of directions that I see many of my peers going into.
And you talked about this anxiety. I hire some young people here, and so I'm from the other generation.
Right.
So there's a lot of exchanges. It is difficult. There's a really a very big evolution, as you said, for multiple reasons. My vision on that is that to thrive at your age in today's very unstable world, self-confidence is a critical factor. And when people ask me, how do you build it? I always say it's easy. You just need to be extremely good at something.
Yeah.
I don't care if it's gaming, sports, music, I don't care. How do you reflect on that? You know, you talk with your friend, there is a high level of anxiety. Do you see that maybe the excellent dancer, ballet dancer or pianist player have an edge, or is it just a matter of personality?
I feel like they have an edge to some degree. So for the people that excel at something, it makes it easier for them to choose a career path in the long term.
They are more committed.
They're committed from the beginning. They say, this is the one thing that I'm really good at, that probably brings me a lot of joy and that I can see myself pursuing until the end of my career.
So they're not scared about the pain to
Right.
go through to get their goal.
Right, and it might be hard work because obviously talent is not everything, and they've probably worked a lot on it before, but they already have somewhat of a possible predetermined path. And some people don't have that. Some people are maybe good at a lot of things, but do not excel in one thing specifically. And so they kind of sit there and say, well, what do I choose? I have many things that I might be okay or good at, but what of these things will ultimately bring me closer to happiness? So it's a question of, you know, you said before the reasonable thing to do would be, you know, go to the state, get a loan, just live comfortably. And here we have the opposite thing. You have many things that you are passionate about. And ideally, because you spend a lot of time at work, right? Ideally, you want work to be something that you have fun with. You want to be somewhat passionate about work in order to make it sustainable in the long run. I know not everybody feels about it this way, but I certainly do. And so you're sitting there looking at your options, and sometimes you get stumped. And it takes a lot of knowing yourself and personal growth in order to actually find the thing that you know will make you thrive.
And I cannot agree more with you. I think you're touching on several extremely important points. The very important necessity to focus on knowing yourself at your age. And I'm impressed that at your age you are aware that there's so much you still need to discover about yourself. This is extremely precious, I think, for your career choices. You are absolutely right that I work more than 12 hours a day. It's been like this for many decades just because I'm having so much fun.
Right.
Nobody would admire somebody playing PlayStation 12 hours a day, but that's how I feel every day. And you're absolutely right that there are two types of people. People working and people having fun at work. You're absolutely right. And the last thing you touched, I think, very well here is happiness. The quest for happiness. And for this, again, I can only confirm that it's just like in love.
Right.
You know, life is full of risk. But if you're not willing to make a big commitment on something, it will fail whatever you do. And this applies to love as well as work. If you tiptoe into a work, but you hesitate every week, of course you will leave it. So I think your analysis is extremely impressive. So I would like to Thank you very much for your time and wish you the best of luck for your career.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having me.
It's a pleasure.